3 chilling real horror stories set in Cornfields, YouTube, English. Story 1. Carter and I had always been close friends, despite the difference in our backgrounds. He hailed from a rural town in Michigan, while my life was more urban. Despite these disparities, we cherished our friendship and often hung out. I often visited Carter's family, who were undeniably country folks. Their move to the rural town didn't come as a surprise. We were both 19 now. I was in college, while Carter worked for his dad on their extensive property in the countryside. One fall weekend, I decided to stay at Carter's family home. His mom and sister were away, leaving just him and his dad. The journey was a 4.5-hour drive through farmland and open fields. To reach their property, we had to traverse a gravel road, about 300 feet from the main road. Upon arrival, Carter and his dad welcomed me warmly. They were already in the backyard, sipping beers, so I joined them. Over burgers, grilled by Carter's dad, he told me about the various off-roading trails in the area, and we decided to take my Toyota 4Runner for a spin. Although I had never off-road before, I was excited to give it a try. After an hour of off-roading on different trails near Carter's house, darkness began to fall, and we left the trails to return to the road. The forest became especially eerie at night, so we opted for the road. As we were cruising past farmland, we spotted an abandoned church-like building adjacent to a massive cornfield. Carter mentioned he had seen it many times, but had never explored it. Our curiosity got the better of us, and we decided to go back later with bikes. Equipped with flashlights, Tequila, Sprite, and the best mountain bikes from Carter's family collection, we embarked on the adventure. We stashed our bikes in the cornfield, attempting to remain inconspicuous, and ventured toward the abandoned church with just enough natural light to guide us. Our plan was to capture artsy Instagram shots inside the building if we could find a way in. The old structure confirmed it was indeed an abandoned church, judging by its window shapes. However, when we peered through one window, all we could see was darkness. We needed a flashlight. Once the flashlight pierced the darkness, we spotted something unsettling in the pews, what appeared to be a motionless person's head hunched over. Carter suggested it might be a mannequin, but I thought it could be a homeless person. Our attempt to enter the church revealed a boarded-up front door, dashing our hopes. We decided to check other windows for a better view. While inspecting another window with a promising angle, we noticed the figure had disappeared. Confused, we searched the surroundings with our flashlights until we both spotted him simultaneously. A man stood just to the left of the window, staring directly at us. Terrified, we sprinted back to the cornfield. Panic set in as we struggled to find our bikes in the pitch-black night without revealing our location with flashlights. Suddenly, a loud slam echoed from the church, as if a door had closed. Carter heard strange noises in the cornfield, like someone moving through the crops, but then everything fell silent. Frozen in fear, we stayed still for what felt like an eternity. Finally, In a hushed voice, Carter asked, "Which way did we leave the bikes?" That's when we heard the crops rustling just feet away, a sound of someone running toward us. I screamed, "Go!" as we dashed through the crops, and eventually, into the open, leaving the cornfield behind. We weren't pursued any further. Carter's dad came to pick us up, understanding the gravity of the situation. While we left the bikes behind, we felt justified in doing so. The next day, accompanied by Carter's dad, we returned to the church with a gun to retrieve the bikes. Upon looking back at the church, we saw the figure again, confirming our unsettling encounter. We left, deeply disturbed by the eerie presence in the abandoned building. Carter's dad's unease spoke volumes, as he was not easily rattled. We reported the squatter to the local authorities, hoping to have at least done something about the mysterious figure hiding in the church, though we never found out who or what it was. Story 2. My life was centered around our family farm, shared with my brother and his wife. During the busy season, we divided responsibilities, but during the off-season, they often traveled, leaving me alone. Still grieving the loss of my fiancée a few years prior, I found the solitude during off-seasons particularly challenging. One early October night, my brother Joe and his wife were away, leaving me in charge. As I sat in my living room with open windows, savoring the refreshing October breeze, I suddenly heard a piercing scream, an unmistakable cry of distress from a woman, though I couldn't discern her age. I leapt from my chair, rushing to my bedroom's gun safe to retrieve my rifle. As I stepped outside, the cool night air greeted me. I stood on the porch, listening intently, and the scream came again, this time emanating from the cornfield. In response, I fired a warning shot into the air, unsure whether someone was in danger or if it was just mischievous teens. My actions alerted the police, and I called out into the darkness, "Who's out there? Where are you?" However, there was only silence, and I decided to call 911 while advancing cautiously into the cornfield, my flashlight in hand. After conveying the situation to the operator, I awaited the arrival of police officers. 4 officers soon arrived, and together we combed through the cornfield, shouting and shining flashlights, desperately searching for anyone in need of help. The police took the report seriously, but we ultimately found no one. One officer advised me to call 911 again if I heard another scream for help, and then they left. Returning to my home, I realized I hadn't closed the windows downstairs. The noise from the old house reached my ears, and I called Joe to check if he was back, but he was still away in another town. My heart raced, knowing I was alone and that someone had been inside my house. I cautiously approached the gun safe, taking my shotgun and calling Joe for help. He assured me he'd call the police, hanging up quickly. I proceeded to the top of the stairs, my senses heightened, and I could hear noises from below. I hadn't closed the windows, and the noise would give me away. I dialed Joe again, who confirmed he had alerted the police. I took each step with utmost care, knowing any noise could be my undoing. As I descended, a tall, skinny figure came into view at the bottom of the stairs. I aimed my shotgun and warned, "Don't move." Yet, the intruder calmly walked out of sight and then broke into a run through the living room, out the back door. I yelled, "Stop," and chased after him, but locked the door once he was outside. Joe had informed me that the police were on their way. I secured all windows and waited for their arrival. The officers, the same ones as earlier, arrived and conducted a thorough search of the property. With all the lights on, they examined the surroundings. One officer decided to stay for the night, although I doubted the intruder would return after seeing my weapon. The story didn't end there. While harvesting crops in the combine, I discovered a woman's shoe in the field, a size 8.5. Puzzled and alarmed, I called 911 once more and left the shoe for the police to investigate. They brought dogs to sniff for any potential scents, but found no missing person reports in our county. I hoped the owner of the shoe was still alive, but the unsettling events haunted me, leaving a sense of dread on our farm. Story 3. During our childhood, our family owned a vacation home in Hollywood, South Carolina. The we referred to my 3 brothers and me. Our vacation home, a 3-bedroom mobile home, wasn't extravagant, but it held a special place in our hearts. When we saw nothing but farms on our drive, we knew we were almost there. I was the second oldest among my siblings, and our ages ranged from 8 to 14 at the time of this story. The mobile home was a bit rustic, but it did have electricity. We brought our PlayStation along to keep ourselves entertained. We had frequented the area for so long that we had various places we loved to visit. These included a playground at an elementary school, a grocery store where we played games, and the surrounding woods, perfect for exploring. Although our nearest neighbors were a bit of a walk away, it wasn't too far for our parents to allow us to go there alone. On this particular occasion, our youngest brother, Todd, joined us on an adventure while our parents stayed at the mobile home. We decided to explore a peculiar house and farm that had always intrigued us. Perched on a hill overlooking the road, it appeared deserted, with no signs of life. There was a small cornfield nearby, indicating that someone still lived there, but we had never seen a car or any activity around the property. The house and its surroundings seemed like the ideal spot to play hide and seek tag. We divided roles, and I was chosen as the seeker, starting the game. As my brothers dispersed to hide, I counted to 60. Afterward, I shouted, "I'm coming." Keeping my flashlight off to remain stealthy, I cautiously navigated the surroundings. I ventured up the hill toward the house, which sat ominously in the dark. As I peered around the corners, I couldn't spot any of my brothers. I checked the trees and briefly turned on my flashlight to scan the area. Unbeknownst to me, I had ventured into the cornfield in search of my hidden siblings. The darkness had intensified the eerie atmosphere. As I stealthily moved through the crops, I heard footsteps nearby. Someone was in the cornfield with me, but I couldn't tell which of my brothers it was. With my heart pounding, I turned on my flashlight and yelled "caught," but all I saw was the back of the person running away from the light. Curious and somewhat fearful, I asked who it was, but I heard only unsettling laughter, a laugh that didn't belong to any of my brothers. It was more like the deranged laughter of an adult than that of a child. Frozen in place, I kept my flashlight trained in the direction of the laughter. Then, I heard a soft, grown man's voice asking, "Can I play with you guys?" I caught a glimpse of the man's face, partially obscured by the corn stalks. It seemed deformed, and I couldn't tell if it was a mask or his actual face. Terrified, I ran out of the cornfield, screaming for my brothers to run, declaring the game over. I saw them running down the hill with their flashlights on, and we didn't stop until we reached our property, gasping for breath. Although we weren't pursued, the encounter left us deeply shaken. When we recounted the incident to our parents, they were taken aback. My father didn't know how to react, while my mother insisted we avoid venturing outside our property after dark. That was the last time we ever went near that unsettling property up the road. Fortunately, it wasn't too close to our own property. In the years that followed, our family eventually sold the vacation home, but the eerie encounter still lingers in our memories.